Welcome everybody to another episode, I guess, of Rivals Recaps. Um, I am Righteous. That is CB. Whatever, dude. I'll always butcher it, probably. Um, Either way. We're trying something new. Gonna do a Saturday afternoon. See how it goes. Free up some time. Everyone says you're muted. So, anyways, we promise we'll get used to this eventually. Like every recap, we're gonna talk about the standings first off,
Hmm.
see if any big risers or fallers, and then we will jump into uh the schedule that just happened, and then the predictions, and then we'll probably go to a break. After that, it'll be player rankings, and then last but not least, team rankings. So, without further ado, CB, you got the
Yep.
last
So
week's schedule and the standings up?
yeah. Boom, boom, boom,
There it
boom.
is.
So just a casual five-way tie in Sector One.
Yep, very casual indeed. Um,
It's gonna
yeah, I
be
guess if you're OSGA or Hydro Pump, you're wishing you're in Sector 2.
yeah. That's kind of that's tough. It's gonna be really unfortunate for the whoever ends up fourth and fifth seed. Just because they had the knockout game, I think, right? So
Mm-hmm.
uh, it feels bad that one of the top five teams currently in Sector One's not gonna make the actual playoffs. Just feels bad.
Yeah, just the plan.
Yeah.
Uh,
Sector 2, on the other hand, is it's pretty much open game to at least make playoffs.
yeah, yeah, it really is. Of course, last week was a rivals week. I believe Sector 1 went 4-2 across the week. OTL picking up the victory against PLW, and then Roar winning against HPB. I think Sector 1 is 7-2 overall, including the cross division games that have happened weeks 1 through 3. So
No
Sector Two's
surprise.
got a lot to prove moving forward.
Yeah.
OTLO is looking strong.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's they could, I mean, obviously rank wise, they're uh number one based off of record. Are they the best team? Potentially, they beat what was supposed to be, the best team in Sector 1. So Sector 2 might have the best overall team. Just Sector 2, on average, is weaker than Sector 1. So interesting
Yep.
how it all fell. It'll be I would think OTLO pretty much has playoffs locked in, maybe pretty close. Maybe one more week is needed, and then
Let me
everybody
pull it
else
up. How many
is
more
who
weeks are
knows.
there?
I think there's only
Um,
like three more games, maybe.
that's a lie. There
What?
is 1, 2, 3, 4 more games.
Oh, I was
So
so
yeah,
far
I
off.
mean, I guess yeah, theoretically, they would at least make the play-in spot if they lost the last four.
Yeah, unless dropping point pass them. I don't anticipate them doing that, but I guess it feels good to know that they can pretty much almost lose every game and still be chilling to make playoffs. I
Yep.
don't remember if it's. I would assume it would be like first seed of Sector 1 versus fourth seed of Sector 2 type thing, but I don't know if that's the case.
Yeah, I don't remember if it's cross division or not. Anyways, we'll jump into a little bit more of like the strength of these teams as we go on, of course, with all the rankings and whatnot. But we got to look ahead to week 5. Some pretty interesting matchups this week indeed, especially in Sector 1.
Yeah.
Um, Let me know how you guys like the new screen. I think it helps tell a little bit of a story. But first off, we got Hydro Pump Black Tip versus NLE Choppas. Looking at the stats going down the board, NLE pretty much favored in every stat there is. Not
Uh,
surprising considering these two records.
you want to
HPB
explain
is.
some of these?
Oh yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah. So I mean it's KDA, vision per minute, gold per minute, CS per minute, and then towers per game, dragons per game, barons per game, and then the average game time overall across all the games that they've played. I think it just does a pretty good job of which teams are finding success and which teams aren't. Obviously, if you're losing games, you're probably not going to be high on towers, KDA, etc. Um, and then when you're winning games, you're going to be higher than average. So there are some surprises as we go through um, in terms of some stats that stick out even on losing teams. But this one, I mean, I would consider HPB a very heavy underdog
Yeah,
for
I'd say
sure.
so. I mean, some of the stats are, I mean, pretty close for how different record they have, right? 3-1 versus
Hmm.
1-3, I think.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, pretty much every category you're winning in it, and I think watching both teams play, and I guess we've actually played against both teams. I My prediction would be a nice little 2-0 victory for NLE.
So, you know, I want to say 2-0, but NLE, when they win, it's always 2-1. So I'm going to go 2-1. I feel like they have to give a game in order to win. Um, yeah, I mean, it is pretty interesting. The one like the big difference is obviously the vision per minute. The CS per minute as well is a little bit. I mean, it looks small. It's only zero point 0.1, but when you see the CS for some of these teams, it's actually kind of big. Um, the Dragon control is going to be something to watch between these two teams as both of them are trying to. It looks like play for Dragons more. There was no grub or I guess there was a Rift Herald stat, but I didn't think that was
No one cares
particularly
about
indicative of success because there's
that.
only one.
Yeah.
Um, so, anyways, I'm gonna go NLE 2-1 just for the sake of trends. That's how they typically
Okay.
win.
That's fair. I think that's fair. You could say
Moving
the
on.
opposite trend of uh, black tip on whether or not they're winning,
Yeah.
taking a game or not. But
So PLW, of course, losing to OTLO, who's in their own right a very good team. PLW was the number one team, the last undefeated team in Sector 1 up until that loss. So they really haven't lost a sector game. But looking at the stats, I mean, we're not going to do predictions for our own team here, but I think a lot closer than some might have assumed.
yeah, I think before looking at the screen, I guess I would have assumed PLW would have been winning every category. Um, but I don't know. This tells us some stuff. Yeah, no predictions. Can't really get rid of the bias when it's your own team, but I expect a banger series on Tuesday.
Yeah, just some things that stand out to me. The Dragons per game, PLW doing a really nice job of pretty much securing soul in almost all their games. Right, you're over 3 dragons a game. You're getting 4 pretty often. But the game time as well, 36 minutes for PLW means they're playing methodical, one might say, or it's either that or they're struggling to close out games. Um,
Or they're
Either
just
way,
extending the games for better stats. That's what it is.
yeah. That's true. That's true. That's true. And then the vision for us is actually pretty good. I think it could be better, but uh,
Could be worse.
this is looking good for us. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. The CS per minute was kind of a big one to me. We'll have to see if the trends hold, but there you go. Rivals versus Plasma Woes, which is technically two teams tied for first in their
Hmm.
sectors. So
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of teams tied for first,
yeah, here's the other set. Sector 1, banger after banger. TD Blessed versus TFF Chill Guys. Um, what are your initial thoughts when you're looking at this screen?
if I'm looking at this screen, I'm thinking TDB playing some old objective control. We got better vision for TFF, but if you can have better vision, it doesn't. If it doesn't translate to your dragons and barons and towers, oh my, then you're just getting vision. Not all vision matters that much, I guess, or doesn't have to
Mm-hmm.
matter. Um, so I don't look at that too much. So most of the stats look like they're in favor of TD.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, I am a TFF believer. Not that I'm a TD hater by any means, but TFF I think's been sneaky good. So this, surely this is the stream game, maybe. Um,
I'll confirm the stream game is this one. Um, it's pretty interesting. So, for those of you that are watching, the CS per minute being below 1 is low, I think. It's like below average. Both of these teams are actually below that mark. But the gold per minute, TFF is about average, and then TDB is actually a little bit higher than average, which means they're getting their gold through what I would assume skirmishes around these objectives, and then they're winning the objective as well, right? They're averaging a bear in a game, they're averaging 2.5 drags per game, so um, a lot of objective team fights and skirmishes probably is how TDB is approaching their games. Where TFF, when you watch them play, it's really for the mid to late game, like team fights, winning the fights that count. Um, so it'll be interesting. You can even see that in the game time, right? TDB 32 minutes compared to TFS 35. TFF taking a little bit longer to pick up those wins, or they'll drag out their losses. So uh, can TDB close it out in the mid game, or will TFF win the late game? Is kind of the question that I'm looking forward to seeing answered during the stream. So we'll see.
That was your
Uh,
prediction.
my prediction, I'm gonna go. I mean, I see a lot of back end stuff, so I'm gonna go TDB 2-1.
Okay, okay, okay. I don't. But I'll be watching some stuff, so I'm feeling
Uh-huh.
TFF 2-1 TDB. So we're in the same boat
Okay.
of it's gonna be like a banger game 3, series at least. But I don't know. I'm rocking with TFF until they are no longer tied for first.
Well, one of these won't be after this week. We'll just have to see which one comes out victorious. Next, we got our cross sector game, cross
Cross
division, whatever
sector,
you
cross org, rivals. Who knows?
cross division on this sheet. So that's what I'm going for. We have the OSG Civil War, aka the Battle of the Cupcakes. Just kidding, that was mean. OSGA surprisingly has better gold per minute than their counterparts in OSGS. The one thing that stands out to me, neither of these teams very good in the objective or tower department, which means that I think they're just both losing early game. So honestly, I know OSGS does have the win, that OSGA doesn't. But OSGS is rocking basically a brand new roster. Of
True.
course, this will be their second week playing. There's a potential for an upset here in this Civil War matchup.
There is a potential for it. Sure, sure. I personally am not gonna uh think that that's actually
Oh,
gonna happen, but not bad. Yeah, the Baron per game for OSGA is not the highest, I would say.
yeah, I have to make it clear. I realize they have the exact same logos. So OSGA is on the right side.
Yeah, that's
OSGA
what I
is on the
assumed.
left.
That's what I assumed.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, KDA under 1 is a wild stat to see.
yeah.
Everything else is fairly, I guess Tower's not, but yeah, like you said, it's just they're playing catch up all game, so you're probably not going to get very many towers if you're getting pulled around the map.
Yep.
Um, I don't know. I think Sub Zero is a decent team, and OSGA just really hasn't shown much. So I don't know. I don't see how I can't. I have to pick Sub Zero 2-0.
Okay, so you don't think it's gonna be that close? You think it's gonna be so
I mean, the games could be close, but I don't think it's going game 3. No.
I'm gonna go 2-1 Sub-Zero. I think OSGA is gonna pick up a game. Dude, it's just so hard to think that a team will not pick up a game uh the whole season, right? And I feel like if they're gonna pick up one, it's gonna be against their sister team. So
Yeah, yeah. Maybe. I mean, I guess they have. I assume they have either the same coach or maybe they're just under the same org. Uh, we'll see.
either
Whoever
way,
does the more of the sneaky
I mean,
analytics up front.
technically OSGA picked up a win last week because of the FF from contingent.
True.
But like an actual playing game, I feel like they gotta get at least one.
Yeah.
So
I don't know who else. Who else do they play? I should have it pulled up, but I don't. Do they play one of the other two-ish bottom teams?
I have it pulled up. Let me see. They play next week. They play OSG plays us. I mean, they're in sector 1, right? Which makes it tough. So they play us, then they
Hmm.
play NLE, and then they end the season against Plasma Wolves. So not a.
Oof. Oof.
If they're gonna pick up a game, I feel like they should do it now.
Yeah. 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 They should probably. Yeah. This is the one. Okay. It's tough even with a win. Uh, Still in sector one, so it's tough to make the playoffs regardless. But
Yeah. I
always
just,
feels
I'm
good.
not even predicting the matchup. I just think they'll get a game. I think they'll lose 2-1, but we'll see. A little bit of Civil War action happening. Nike, we've covered all of Sector 1, and we're jumping into Sector 2 right now, starting with OTLO versus DPH. The stats tell a one-sided story. I was surprised at the CS per minute between DPH and OTLO, but other than that, I mean, you look at the towers, the drags, the barons.
Yeah, they got CS and
Um,
Vision, so they got some stuff going for them.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Short game times, but I just don't
Strong
think that's in a good way.
fundamentals. Yeah, short game times. When you don't have a winning matchup or match so far, they picked up some games, but if you're
Yeah.
not winning a match and you got a short game time, it means you're losing pretty fast. So, um, I mean, we could beat around the bush all we want, but I think this is OTLO 2-0.
I'd agree. OTL 2-0. I do think DPH. I'm trying to check to see who else they play. They do play Sub-Zero later on. They get free win versus CE, so I do think that DP might sneak into that last spot in playoffs for Sector 2.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't expect this game to be close. DPH has been taking off at least one game against a
Yeah.
few of their opponents. I don't know if they're going to do it against this team because OTLO right now is looking like the clear number one team to beat. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's not all lost for DPH, despite us both thinking they're going to get 2-0 this week.
Yeah, we will have to see. Uh, one more Sector 2 game because of the bye. No sense in throwing that up there. BLM versus Veracity. Both of these teams we have played as well.
And they're both 2
Our
and
two
2.
cross divisions. Yeah. So this is actually a matchup that has some pretty big playoff implications. Looking the rest of the way for BLM, they play OTLO, which is going to be a tough one. That's the week after. Then they play OSG Sub-Zero, and then they play Roar. So two of the weaker teams left on their docket. Veracity, after playing BLM, they will play OSG Sub-Zero. They play Roar. Those two matchups that are similar to BLM, and then they end the season with a cross division matchup against Hydropump Blacktip. So really,
Okay.
this one, if you win it, you're putting yourself in a good position for some good seeding. Because it's really your last hardest test, in my opinion, for these two teams. Roar being the other one. The stats are, I think, very heavily favored of Veracity here when you're looking
Yeah,
at them.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I mean, one of the matchups where we have played both the teams. I mean, the Vision
Mm-hmm.
is the one that sticks out. I mean, there are some that are pretty close. I mean, Dragons, Towers, fairly close.
Mm-hmm.
CS, kind of like you mentioned, point 2 is a decent amount. Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense. I would say Veracity, at least looking at both of our games, I think Veracity was the better team. I think we won 2-0 versus BLM and 2-1 over VCY. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, this stats tell us a pretty decent story. It makes sense to me. That Veracity's on top on most of them.
The other thing I'm not too sure of is if that Drakenrich comma swap is going to be permanent. It's
Yeah.
not reflected in the roster sheet, so I don't think it is. I don't know if they're just trying something out. I personally wasn't a big fan. I think the way you go about having Drakenrich impact the game is not sticking him jungle, but instead kind of learning how to unlock him through mid, like from mid, and then influence sides. Uh, and so if the switch stays, it might change my prediction. I'm assuming it doesn't. I think Drakenrich is gonna go back to mid. And if that's the case, I think the series is gonna be a little bit closer. Um, I think the wild card is how Drakenrich does against Limestone, because Limestone's a pretty good mid laner in his own right. Um, I think outside of that, BLM probably has the stronger bot lane, but then the weaker top, and then Jung's like a wash. So, I think it's gonna be close, but I wouldn't be surprised if one of these teams did a 2-0, picked up a 2-0. I'm gonna go Veracity 2-1, but that's probably the least confident of all the matchups we've covered. That's my least confident prediction.
Okay, okay. I feel decently confident in No Veracity winning the game.
Mm-hmm.
If it's gonna be 2-1 or 2-0, I'd say that's a complete toss-up. My prediction would be that No Veracity wins 2-0, but I wouldn't be surprised because this is probably the closest one.
I think both of these teams can learn how to beat each other watching our series back. Because I think we attacked both of these teams, I think, correctly in terms of how you should approach these teams. Now,
Yeah,
granted, if BLM keeps the mid junk swap, then there's not a lot of film or information about that. But I think it's gonna be close. Who did you end up going?
I think No Veracity. I would pick No Veracity 2-0.
Okay, so you go 2.
That
I'll
would
go
be my
2-1.
that would be my vote. But I wouldn't be surprised either way. Especially with it being pretty much winner gets second seed probably. Um,
Yeah, I mean it's huge implications, right? I mean OTLO we're assuming is gonna win out. Kind of locked for first. Sub Zero, sitting at 2-2. One of those wins being against CEW. So really, this team, whoever wins, sets themselves up nicely for top 3 seed at minimum, in my opinion. But
yeah,
of course they'd have to do the job the rest of the way. So
true, true.
uh, pretty big match.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's it. Since okay, so who has the buy? RAR has the buy. So RAR has the
But yeah,
or free win or however they're saying it. But RAR's not playing this week because CE quit. So that's it for all the teams. Um, in the spirit, we can either rush through top or any role, I guess, or we can take a break and we can knock out 2 of them.
let's do a break and then I'll throw it to a poll of uh
What
what position
role?
wants to go first.
Okay, sounds good. We will be back in a quick 5 minutes, and you all get to pick which role goes first.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Looking at the poll, looks like middle one, so we'll be going with the
Barely.
mid lane rankings by one vote. Everybody's vote matters, so if you didn't vote, sucks to suck. We're going mid. Uh, we're gonna go, I think two, right? We'll try two,
Two at a time?
two at a time,
Sure.
and then we'll do the last one, and then the team rankings. So,
Oh, okay. My bad. I
um,
thought you meant like 12th and 13th, 11th and
oh no,
10th.
I meant like two positions at a
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
So we're starting off with mid. Don't have the previous ones pulled up.
I
Do
do.
you, CB?
Yep,
Okay.
yep. But I'll talk about it as we go through the actual
We got rid of
people.
the CEW joke because that was like a one stream thing. It would have gotten really old if we did it every
Yeah.
every stream. So, start off with 13. Uh, don't remember who it is, so I'm gonna wait for
It's
it to
gonna
show up.
be Brissinger, 35. Uh, Unfortunately, once again. But yeah, they were 13th last time.
Yeah,
Feels like until their team can pick up a win, it's kind of how it's gonna be.
I think Brissinger um had the most presence they've had of any game last match. He actually got some KP, which was good to see. Would like to see just a little bit more out of him, but it's tough because they're just not winning. So
Yeah.
I don't know if
I'll
there's much more to say.
I'll say it as we go into the 12th because number 12 and number 13 play against each other.
Yeah.
So if there was a week to start to climb up the rankings, this would be it.
Yep, Mundaman right there. You got to figure whoever wins is probably the flip flop. Um, Yeah, but right now, I mean, it seems I don't know what the philosophy is over at OSG, but it seems like don't get your mid laner involved is like what they try to go for, which probably isn't the best way to win a game of League of Legends. So, uh, yeah, I'd just like to see more out of these two players in particular. And it's a good week to try to get it right, especially when bragging rights are on the line.
Yeah, we could have a. I mean, it just takes one pop off game, and they could climb a couple spots. But yeah, as of right now, it just feels like those two are the clear bottom ones right now. Brissinger did have, I think, a bye last week, so it was kind of impossible to move up at all. So
No, it must have been Mundaman that I was talking about then, getting a little bit more involved. Either way, uh, just not having the highest of impact in their team's losses. Number 11, who's gonna be?
it's gonna
There's like
be
5 seconds on
yeah.
each of
I'm,
these.
I'm
So
trying. Yeah,
yeah.
it's gonna be check your mini map. So 11th, 12th, and 13th all the exact same from last week.
No coincidence that these are the bottom of the three teams in the standings. Mid lane's a really important role, especially when you're trying to pick up some wins, pick up some upsets, and so far it just hasn't happened for any of these three. The difference being DP, check your mini map, has picked up some game wins. Mundo Man has as well, but DP, despite being winless so far, I think check your mini map has had a little bit more impact in the games that they have won. So
Yeah, how do you?
really, these bottom three are pretty much interchangeable in my eyes.
I don't know if I agree. As far as check your mini map, I think I actually had him.
Hmm.
I think I had him one spot higher. But I agree they're in the same tier. Check your mini map had a couple decent games. Game one
Yeah.
versus NLE was pretty solid.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, just not quite enough to climb out of what I would say the bottom 3 or 4 spot in that bottom tier.
Moving on to the top 10, which I
Hopefully we
mean
have
feels
some
good.
change, maybe change up a little bit, maybe. I guess
Uh,
technically
I,
yes, it's by default, just because of the role swaps.
yeah. And I don't think Drakenwich was number 10 last week. So,
No, he was 4.
if you're comparing BLM mid lane performances, not the better of the two, but good enough to go into the top 10. Um, they did they lose 2-0 last week? Let me double check. To they did lose 2-0 to Brawl Lives Matter. Riven's been playing a little. Or
To TD.
I shouldn't say a little.
But
Riven's been playing a lot better in the mid lane, and role swapping into that was going to be a tall task. Don't know how comfortable Kama is in the mid, but had a decent performance if I'm remembering correctly.
at least one of the
Uh,
games.
yeah.
One of the games, not so much on the Vygar. I am curious to know if it was just like a random swap, why not type thing, or if was it around Drakenrich going jungle, or was it around Kama going mid? That's
Well, I think obviously I'm not talking to these teams, but from the outside looking in, it's like, oh, Djokovic is our best player. We need to get him more involved early. Because the way the games went against us, it was like Djokovic did nothing for 15 minutes. And then by the time he got involved, the game was basically out of hand. So it's like, okay, let's put Djokovic in the jungle so he can get, you know, be be more impactful early. That
yeah,
would be my like mode of thinking or approaching it, which I guess makes sense, but I wasn't a big fan of the swap.
yeah. Didn't seem to work out. Kama played all right, at least one of the games, enough to stay out of the bottom three, but landing at that number 10 spot. Uh, so going on to number 9.
No?
Same spot as last week, sitting at number 9. It's going to be a Red Sharky.
Yeah, I mean, Sharky solidly in the middle of the pack. Obviously, not quite the tier that's below him. Had a pretty rough showing, but I will say that Roar series was degenerate. Games 1 through 3. I think Red Sharky actually took a Caitlyn mid and didn't have the best of games. I like if you try to play the way that Doki wants to make you play, you're gonna be frustrated, and I think HPB got kind of wrapped up into that. So didn't move. Also, probably not the best performance so far this split from this player, but we'll have to see how he does moving forward.
Yeah, and I mean, I was of course losing to a team that didn't have any wins is always tough.
Yeah.
But I'd say some decent performances. Enough to stay out of the double digits in the rankings, but just not good enough this week to climb any.
Who we got
Number
next?
8 is gonna be Soul Ram. So another not moving a spot. He picked up the 2-1 win. Granted, it's a 2-1 win over a team that they don't have DPH doesn't have any wins, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you beat a team that's kind of at the bottom. Soul Ram, I think, had a couple. I don't know. The Smolder, I don't know. I feel like Smolder's not a good champ right now.
Well, so I'm looking at that draft. I'm not a big fan of the game 1 draft from NLE. You pick a Smolder and then pick only Nautilus to peel for it. It just doesn't make sense in my opinion. It makes sense that that's the game they lost because it's really difficult to execute the way that they drafted. But after that, 9-1-8 on the RE, really good. And then 7-3-9 on the Mel, probably the best Mel performance. Mel hasn't been picked too much in
No.
Sentinel. So far has the best Mel game. Yeah, just that first game was tough.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is because Soul Ram didn't have like a bad week by any means. Had one bad game, but not really a bad week. I just think mid lane is the most stacked lane.
Yeah.
I think so. It's really just everybody ahead of Soul Ram performed pretty well this week. So
Hmm.
you played well, but not better than the other people in front of you. So it's just eight sitting pretty in the middle.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I don't know. Stuff.
A win's a win.
Yeah. I mean, really, like realistically, right? As we get further and further onto the season, the stats are probably going to stabilize. So there's not going to be much movement between those two unless there's like a really either fall off performance or pop off performance. And so unless you're doing that, the stats aren't going to move too much, and it's really just going to come down to like how well the team's doing as well. So either way, number 7, Riven. I don't know if did
Same
Riven
as
move up.
last week. So
Yeah,
7 the
so
same, 8th, 9th the same, and then 11, 12,
pretty
13 the same.
stable.
So yeah, not too much of a change. I think this was. Hell, I was thinking mid was the one of the toughest ones to rank for the top like 4 or 5, but it's looking like all around.
Yeah, so TD Blast got the 2-0 win against BLM. Riven, really nice on the Swain. Not as nice as the Soul Ram on the Mellow though. So 459 did a good chunk of damage for their team. But that Swain performance is what I'd like to see more of from Riven. But solidly right in the middle of the pack, like all the other players, Soul Ram and Red Sharky
Yeah,
before Riven. So
yeah. It's a similar, I think, to Soul Ram. Of you know, Riven played well. Even the game, yeah, the Mel wasn't the best, I guess, but because their Twitch popped off. But the enemy mid
hmm
laner didn't really do anything at all.
yeah.
So you had your impact there. So a good week for Riven. Just the top 6 had, I would just say, a better week. So it's just comparatively.
Yeah. And honestly, if you're not moving down, that's pretty good. All right, like as things start to stabilize, you kind of just want to hold your spot or move up. Obviously, everybody wants to move up, but not moving down is also as important. Efron at number 6. I
Again,
don't.
again, 6 again.
Okay, six again. There we
Yeah,
go. I swear, we did our things. Like we came together. We averaged them out.
yeah.
So
I think mid was one of the ones that, for me, I only changed like 2 or 3 on mine. It was just a tough week of like everybody kind of played right where they were at.
yeah, so that means in the top 5, there's gonna be movement because Drakenrich isn't on here. But otherwise, pretty much everybody stayed the same. I think. I don't remember. But Efron, um, just same old for him. High KP, high damage. Looking at their game against
Sub Zero.
who was it? Sub Zero.
Yeah,
Um,
Efron had a
just
good. Yeah,
solid performances. The Hui looked really good, but it's just like I don't know. It's tough. Like you didn't do anything wrong. It just was doing the job, so you stayed the same, I guess.
yeah. I think it's just the nature of the top 5 also played well, and so it's like, well, Efron popped off, and so if anybody was slacking in the top 5, I think definitely justified for Efron to climb. But it's just tough to jump people when, like, if 2 people do well,
Yeah.
how do you justify somebody jumping over them? Unless they played against each other. And Efron played against our number 12th rank this week, so yeah,
Yeah, I don't know if you have your rankings handy.
I do.
There are like differences between the stats and like how these players are actually
I put
placed.
Efron at 3, so for what it's
Yeah.
worth.
Yeah.
The
So Efron and stats, this is how stacked mid lane is. Efron had a really good series, like no bad performances in the 2-0. Um, Efron's 8 right now in mid lane for stats.
Jeez.
So uh, the mid lane in Sentinel is really strong. Solram was 7. Ended up at number 8 on the list. Riven's at number 5, but I think number 7 because it's hard to justify the jump when you look at some of the top 5 mids. So mid lane's pretty strong. Um,
Yeah.
we will have to see if these trends hold. Obviously, some of these teams are gonna have to lose when they play each other, but um, yeah, I've been pretty impressed with the upper half of mid lane and Sentinel so far. We gotta get into number 5 though, top 5,
Top 5,
where
top
it
5.
really matters.
Silent Assassin. I think the top 5, and even top 6, there was a couple rules that were like this, but definitely mid, where it was like they could be in almost any order, and it wouldn't feel right or wrong. So, there's people that are
Yeah,
gonna feel like there's no way this person's 5th, there's no way this person's 4th or 6th or whatever. But it's just all the mid laners are playing well, even if they're playing it against each other.
yeah. Silent Assassin, like most of the Plasma Wolves in their game 1 lost, not the best performance. Not something we're typically seeing from Silent Assassin. 1-4-4 on the Ari. Performed a lot better on the Echo, which they've looked really comfortable on every time they play it. Wasn't enough to pick up the win. Um, Got to get dinged right after a loss, so that's basically where it's coming from. Stats have them 6, so kind of on par with the stat side of things.
Yeah, got him at 4, so
Not a
right
bad
in the
place
middle.
to be. Yeah, not a bad place to be.
Yeah, so fell from 2, but again, I think the top 6 is like where you want to be because it's all kind of the same ish. So 2 to
It's really
5
that top.
feels like a drop, but you lost 0-2. You still played decent, but
It's really that top 6, the middle 4, and the bottom 3. That's kind of how mid lane's been shaping up. Kind of like 3 tiers of that
yep.
mid lane cake. Number 4.
Last week it was Rich. This week it will be Stink Pickle climbing up from 10th.
Yeah, Stink Pickle had a pretty good series. Was already having decent stats despite like bad KDAs. Kept up in CS, kept up in KP, and all these things. Stats have him at number 3, so not far off
Whew.
from the stat rankings. I don't know what you had him at.
I had him at
I don't think it was
6.
high. 6. So
That's pretty high.
yeah, pretty. I mean, not number 3, but top half. So I like Roar. The theme of Roar has been like, in terms of like individual performance and like even team performance, in terms of like how they get objectives and things, they've been like decent. They just haven't been winning. And so coming after a win, Sink Pickle kind of shooting up. What'd you say it was last week?
10.
Yeah,
10,
so
10,
quite
10.
the jump.
So it's the maybe it's the Doki effect. Put Doki in the game, and now you jump up 6 spots.
Yeah,
Pickle played what 380 carry champs, right?
yeah,
Aphelios
yeah. Because
twice.
Macho wasn't available. Adrian Legitness was in. They played like 80s mid, AP's bot, and then Doki was cooking up some stank. So yeah,
Yeah, it's a good way. It always throws teams off. Some of the times, granted, HPB have not been playing the best, but neither has RAR. So RAR took that series finally, and Pickle played a big part of that. So.
you gotta cook up some stinky drafts for your stinky pickle.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, top 3. That's where things get exciting. Drakenrich isn't here, so there's gonna be maybe a couple new challengers into the fray. Number 3 is gonna be Limestone. I think
Climbing from 5th.
they rise. Yeah. So part of it's Drakenrich isn't here. Limestone in the loss actually didn't do horrible, right? From
No,
what I remember. Um,
you casted it, but
I know it was a long time ago. It was a 3-game series. Looked good on the rise, 11-3-7, and then after that, Rivals kind of turned it on. But even in the losses, the only like oof performance was that Syndra. Um,
yeah, game
if you
3.
watch the VODs, it's hard to blame Limestone for how the games went. Stats have Limestone at number 2 right now,
Really?
even with that bad performance.
Okay. Didn't see that coming.
So yeah, kind of interesting stuff.
Yeah, I had him slightly lower, but still in the top 6 tier. So, yeah, climbing up a little bit despite a loss. I'd say it's somewhat rare for our rankings.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many role swaps that happened this week
Yeah,
though,
this week was interesting.
and then you had 2 top mid laners going at it. One of them was bound to fall. If you're good in stats, you're getting a little bit of bump. I don't know. It makes top 5 makes sense. You can argue about where they're gonna be placed, but at number 2, we have Corrupt, who, if you ask him, probably thinks he's number 1. Um, Remains to be seen, but had a really nice performance against Silent Assassin. I will admit, like, if there's gonna be somebody that deserves to move up after that performance, it's gonna be Corrupt.
Yeah, I mean, you beat another clearly top mid laner. So if Krupp was anywhere but 1, 2, or 3, I'd say we were definitely wrong. But being in the top
You know, I
two,
say
no
that.
surprise. No,
I
no,
say
no.
that it was just because of the Cho'Gath game. The Swain game was a little rough, but you know what? They got the dub.
A win's a win, man. A win's a win. You know,
It just asked Doki.
12 assists. He was getting all of his kills stolen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Stats have Corrupt to number 4. You can debate whether or not he's top 2. Did beat Plasma Wolves. Probably won't see any other tough competition until they play Plasma Wolves again. So
Yeah, I was
this
gonna
is
check.
a Corrupt spot to lose, in my opinion. The performances haven't been consistent from this player. Uh, like just that series in a nutshell, right? Really fun performance on the Cho'Gath Halo Blades. Go fast race car Cho'Gath 5-1 and 8, and then he follows it up with a 3-11-12 performance on Swain. So if you were to perform a little bit more consistent, the stats would probably help him out. But he is getting a little bit of a boost from his team just being stacked overall. It's hard to knock somebody down when they're winning.
Yeah, and they don't have the most difficult two opponents in the next couple weeks, DPH and BLM. But like you said, that rematch against Silent Assassin in the mid lane in a few weeks will solidify his spot, one way or the other.
That means number 1, once again, Salo. Really solid stuff. I know you don't like talking up your players, but I can. Um, he put down one half of Veracity's formula for success. Um, he's doing it despite uh wanting to cook our game 1 drafts. If he stopped doing that, he'd probably even be higher somehow. But
Hey, we rank 0.
yeah, he'd be rank 0. But yeah, I mean, he's getting put on champions that help us in the comps, and then he's popping off during that. So I think leads or is close to the lead in solo kills right now. I'm not exactly entirely sure, but really good in lane, good understanding the macro. Uh, Stats are through the roof right now for this player. So
Yeah, and
Taylor's number 1.
Salo number 1 deserved. I'll say he's gonna play against what we have as the number 5 mid laner on the list. So getting the same opportunity that Corrupt got last week, he will get this week. So I think it'll either uh, create a small separation between first and second if he can pull out a good showing on Tuesday. But also Silent Assassin has the opportunity to climb up
Mm-hmm.
depending on how that game goes on Tuesday. But I expect Sailor to drop at least 20 kills every game. Otherwise, he might get benched. I don't know.
I was double checking Salo number 2 now in solo kills. Neptune Rises stole the number 1 spot. So either way, getting solo bowls in the mid lane definitely helps the rest of the team open up the map. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
let's do it. Let's do.
we'll have to see.
That's what we got. That's what we got for mid lane. I think
I can pull up a poll. How much time we got?
we can do it. We can do it. We can do it.
All
I think
right.
it was either jungle support. We'll go jungle.
Okay. Never mind. Never mind. We're not pulling up a poll.
No, it was. We're chilling. We chilling. We'll do jungle. I guess it's kind of an important role sometimes.
Mid jungle. I mean, it makes sense to talk about these two positions kind of in tandem. Uh, Number 13 for jungle. Um,
See if it. See if we have more
kind of.
movement this time.
We'll see. It's kind of a theme for this particular organization to have one player at the bottom. This time it's Odin Gaming. Came in late, I think week 3 is when we first saw this player. Has yet to find success with the team. Looking at the performances, are they OSGA, OSGS?
This is OSGA's jungler who
Oh
had a
yeah,
bye,
OSGA.
so I was already 13th. Didn't play this week, so you can kind of expect not to move up anywhere.
Yeah. Other than that, I mean,
Has a chance this week to climb.
yeah, Civil War, baby.
Yeah.
Moving on. Number 12. Doki. So if you're going strictly off of whether your team wins or loses, Doki might be number one because up until Doki inserted himself into the starting lineup, Roar
Yeah.
was yet to find a matchup win. Um, since so, Roar is 1-0. So I mean that might be the Doki effect. The stats on the other hand, when you go 0-14 one game looking like Umti on Team Liquid. It's pretty tough.
In a win though.
It was a win, but I don't know. Jury's still out on how Doki's gonna carry this Roar squad. I think number 12 is probably a safe place to put him with a small sample size.
Yeah, we'll see if Doki's gonna continue to play or if it was just a one-time sub. Um, so I don't know. It might be the one and only time Doki's on the list, or if they continue to play, have opportunities to climb up. It's just a one series sample size with an 0-14 game, despite a win. 12th is where you're gonna land.
Yeah. I will say, having played on a couple Doki teams in my past life, Doki is very calm oriented. He takes control of communication. So you live or die by the Doki calls. So if they keep winning, I guess we can attribute it to Doki.
True.
Useful int for dropping point to Hellfire at number 11. I don't know if this player moved. If they did, maybe
Well,
one spot up.
Fifi played last week.
Okay, that's right. They
So
split, right? Fifi played one game, Useful int played the other, or something. I don't
on our
remember.
listing, we ranked Fifi last week.
Yeah.
I'll check week 2 where useful int was at. Int was 13th.
Okay,
2 weeks
so
ago. So I would say it's a climb up.
yeah, depending on how you're looking at it. It could be that Roar's jungler gave him a one up cushion. Either way,
True.
useful int, dropping point Hellfire, not picking up any matches, but did pick up a game. Looking at the performances, was not quite the DP Fifi performance on the Lilia in game 3. Game 2 was a little rough as well, but the win,
Yeah,
5
game
3
1.
and 5 on that Wukong.
Yeah.
So
It's enough to climb up a couple spots. Just having one solid game that your team won.
yeah,
So I feel like these three are kind of in their own tier. Which I think
we'll have to see.
I think for a lot of them it's kind of the bottom
Jury's
three.
still out on Doki. Jury's still out on Doki.
That's fair.
Number 10, top 10, going to be Tyler 3501. Did pick up a win against us in game 1.
Was 12th last week.
Yeah. So moving up. Actually, I think Tyler's stats got better playing us out of necessity than were previously. I think he had a boost in KP and things like this. But we've talked about Tyler before. Glue guy first team, playing the AoE tanks. Kind of got attacked and drafted a little bit by us, I would say. And didn't look comfortable in the Sejuani game 3. That's all I'll say. Seemed like it was a curveball for him.
Yeah.
Having to play that champ.
I mean, decent showing. I mean, like their whole team did game 1. And then we just kind of adjusted portion of that going towards the jungle. And so yeah, it just seemed not the best showings on 2 or 3, especially the game 3. Still, with the one solid game showing, and doing what they can for the team, being on back-to-back tanks, it's going to be enough to climb 2 spots, but sitting still at 10th.
Number 9, we've got a new face, OSG, questioning error, which they ended up losing. I will say I get excited when I see Fiddles do well, especially in comp play. Played 2 very unique champions in Kane and Fiddles, so I think a new player to watch in terms of, what's this player gonna pick every week. I just hope it doesn't turn into like a angry situation on DP and top where it's like, okay, you're playing cool champs but you're losing on them. but we'll have to see. I mean, they performed pretty well both games despite losing. So 2-6-4 on the Kane. I'm not a big Kane fan in comp. I don't remember the last time I saw that champ do well. But then 5-5-8 on the Fiddlesticks was good to see.
Yeah, and led the team in damage on the fiddle. So
Yeah.
don't hate seeing that. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of necessarily either one of the champs, but something you can always pull out something spicy like that. Like if you're really good at one of the champs, or
Hmm.
any team or any champ can work. If you just almost an OTP on it or something like that, or similar to like the Doki effect, you pull out some real random stuff, and the other team's like, I haven't
We
seen
don't
that
know how to
champion in
play.
a year.
We don't know how to play against
But yeah,
this.
I'd say a decent showing. Does play against Odin Gaming in the jungle this next week. So we'll see. Potential to climb up even higher despite being new to the Sub-Zero roster.
Yeah. Number 8 could be Coach Silent K. I don't know if this player moved.
They were 10th last week.
Okay, so they did. Picking up the win against Questioning Air. More of the same from TFF. I think their play style has been pretty well documented. It looked pretty good on the Zinjao though. That was a new pick that we haven't seen this team play. And then the tried and true Sejuani when paired with a Nautilus top, which was interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
worked out.
yeah, I mean, kind of in that Tyler mold. I would say kind of a glue guy to kind of let Efron and Chrome Alone do their thing. Um, so really, if TFF is doing well, it's really Islamic Samurai and Coach Stanley K kind of just
Hanging
holding it
around.
down on the top side of the map, not being an anchor, but kind of like just a cog in the TFF machine. So I don't expect Coach Silent K to ever, I don't know, pick a cane or like something and pop off and go 20 kills. That's going to be more of a supportive role. But being in top 8, pretty good spot.
Yeah, I don't see Coach Silent K dropping, ever past the 10th spot. Uh, but agreed, kind of like how they're playing and how their team's constructed. I don't really see them climbing above like the 5-6 kind of line just because of that. They have the strong 2 carry roles, and that's working out for them. So
Hmm.
and a win is a win. This week will be interesting because they do play a good team. So if they're going to climb or drop, this is the week to show it.
Yeah. Number 7, new face, kind of. Drakenrich, we already said we didn't like the swap from Kama from jungle to mid. I am not a fan of the Drakenrich drop from mid to jungle. I just don't think that's how you get this player involved early. I think getting him involved through mid is going to be how BLM kind of rights the ship, turns the tide. 6-6 and 2 on the Jarvan and Nivea combo. What's the difference between a hot pot, cold bucket, maybe ice bucket?
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and then 1-7-3 on the
Yeah,
Nocturne.
it's tough.
Wasn't a really good draft either. Don't really see the theme from them coming out in that game too. So, I would like to see Drakenrage back mid.
I agree. We had Kama at 6, so as far as jungle, I feel like it was somewhat close. It's just the mid impact I think took a decent hit. Um, so yeah, I'd agree that they should swap back, but who knows? We'll see if they spice something up again. Maybe even more people swap around this next week.
Yeah,
Um,
maybe.
but it seems like Drakenrich in either of the roles, solid top 8 player regardless. It's just what do they feel like is actually going to work for their team?
Number 6. Who's it gonna be? We know this guy. It's Big Rev.
Big Rip.
I think it was 7 last week.
He was actually 5 last week.
Oh, so he dipped. Yeah, I mean, game 1 was tough. He knows it was tough. But after that, really turned it on. I think the drop is more to do with some shakeups in the top five,
Yeah, I
like
agree.
the
I think
the,
it's
the ones
more he
before
got.
him.
I think it's more he got jumped by
Yeah.
somebody rather than really him falling. But I mean, it's always good to be on the left side of the screen. I think our whole team, everybody, had a rough showing in game one.
Yeah.
Um, but everybody collected their thoughts and picked it up games 2 and 3, and definitely looked solid um, on game 3 this draft.
Rudy looked nice too,
And
I
it
will
was
say.
nice. True, true, true. I was gonna name
Um,
Shams. You look at Strats, man.
yeah, true, true. My bad, my bad. It's not like anybody can access them. But yeah, I think it's more of a shakeup. There was a couple new junglers, um, in the fray this go around. So we'll have to see. I imagine Big Rev's gonna move up or move back depending on what these teams do. Um, but we'll get into that when we talk about that particular player. Next is gonna be top five still.
Top five, top five.
Star Burrito.
Yep.
Star Burrito, I think was three,
Four. It was
two,
four.
four.
4 last week. So also dropping one spot. So seemingly like both of these players just happened to get jumped by somebody.
Yeah, I mean top five's a really good spot to be at. Kind of in the I mean in terms of picks, kind of in the Tyler 3501 and Coach Silent K realm where Star Burrito is really playing for the team. I would say. Stats don't uh love or hate what she's doing. Right smack in the middle, honestly, at number 8 in terms of stats. PLW of course picking up their first loss, but only dropping one spot, not that bad.
No, had I'd say a solid game one. I mean, nobody really on the team did super great, but decent
Got
on
involved, yeah.
the Amumu, and then game 2 looked a little rough. Decent amount of assists, but yeah, getting a 0-2 loss usually means you're probably gonna drop 1 or 2 spots. This time it was just 1 spot, so still chilling in the top 5, with opportunities to climb back up.
Yeah. So we'll have to see if we take Star Burrito on and the rest of Plasma Wolves next week. So I'm excited to see how she approaches the game. Number 4 is the new person. Hard to rank this player. So you could say we stuck him at 4. I don't know.
The small sample
Uh,
sizes are tough. Whenever somebody swaps to a role or joins a team, it's just
yeah,
tough. It's kind of, I don't want to say it's unfair, but it's just kind of tough to.
tough to judge. I will say, the game 1, not great from Key, 6-10-9 on the Viego, but played 3 very different styles of champions in the 3-game series. Looked really good on the Lilia 9-3 and 22, and did an insane amount of damage. Um, and then switched it up in the game 3 loss. Played a little bit more supportive on the Amumu, but still outdamaged their bot lane, um, and their top laner. So, I mean, Key got involved. Key had a high KP. Key had high damage. Played a couple different things. I don't know if it's gonna stay. I know Hydro Pump was trying some things, because they haven't been winning. Red Shark was in the chat saying, expect something crazy. So Key in the jungle was not what I was expecting. So good call out by Sharky. And then they ran Sharky mid and Bixis in the AD role. Don't know if that's gonna stay, but I don't know. Tough to judge the player. Red XC has been consistent, to say the least, for TD Blessed at number 3. Did they move up one?
They stayed at 3. Side
Okay.
note, we have a minute and a half.
Okay. We'll run this quick then. Yeah,
Staying the same.
Red XC has been just solid for this TD Blast team. I think as Riven has gotten better, it's only helped XC more. Popped off on the Wukong in game 1, only dying one time. And then only dying one time on the Diana as well. So big part of their success. I imagine it was pretty easy tracking Drakenrich, who might not be familiar in the jungle, but really good performances from him.
Yeah, I don't think it's. I think they would have moved up if the other two junglers above them didn't also play very well.
Koi, the 2-1 win versus DP. Koi's been like the Robin to number one's Batman. It just kind of firmly entrenched in number two. We could talk about it a lot, but really good stuff. Makes NLE work, I think. And then, of course, number one, going to be Latex Monkey Nuts.
Yeah. Top three, no change in the top three. Um, all three of those teams played really well this week, so makes sense that nobody really got shook up for the top three.
Yeah, Monkey Nuts, of course, picking up the win over Burrito, has been solidly number one, and probably will remain until someone can knock OTLO off. I'm gonna throw it to a quick break, and then after, you just get to decide for him, or we gonna throw it to a poll.
We can do a poll if you want.
All right, I'll do a poll while we're doing that break. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back, everybody. Got a couple more power rankings to go through. Looks like we're going to be starting off with support. Going to get two. We'll just coin flip it for top or bottom after that. Either way, um,
Most
hopefully
important role.
hopefully you've
Mix.
enjoyed the stream so far. Got a little bit more to go, and then eventually at the very end, got the team power rankings, which everyone is looking forward to. With that being said, let's jump into the support role, most important role,
Some would say.
as CB always says. OSG Novocaine. So moving to support when Odin came to play in the jungle. Just not putting together any wins, really. I
Yeah,
don't know.
kind of a similar trend with a lot of their team. Uh, Obviously, they had the bye, right?
Yeah, they had the bye and they were already
Mhm.
ranked last, so
Yeah, so just naturally has to stay in the same spot. But plays against their sister team, so an opportunity to move up.
yeah, and bragging rights. Honestly, at that point, I think you're just trying to play for the bragging rights. Of course, you want to get the win too. But number 12 gonna be Brute Souls 166. I believe fell quite
No,
a bit.
same position as
Uh,
last. So they were both
oh, it was okay.
12,
Never mind.
13.
Yeah. Didn't get the win. Didn't roll swap, which was good to see.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
One of our non-roll swappers. 0-12 and 7 on the Galio. I will say it's nice to see some experimentation. The Nyla Galio didn't work out though. And then one hand popping off against Twitch means their bot lane probably didn't have the best game. The combined 0-11-4 from Brute Souls and Stoic. Tough week. Can't move you up
Yeah.
after a week like that.
Did out damage their AD carry one game, so that's always good.
Yeah, I think
And
he's actually one of the higher damage per minute supports, which is interesting.
we like to see the Galio and some just different picks, but yeah, just not the best showing. Was against a good team, but gonna stay at the same rank as last week in the 12th spot.
At number 11, right outside number 10, it's going to be Never Knows Best from DP.
Falling from 8.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's dive into why that fall may have occurred. I do know there's a new support on the list. Looking at those games, looked really solid on the Alistar and the win. Played your favorite champion, the Zillion. Didn't do too hot, and then yeah, not a great showing on the. I would say the favored matchup in the Rel into, or sorry, the Renata into the Rel. The Rel getting the better of Never Knows Best. Of course, it came against NLE, which is a good team. DP consistently picking up wins, but dropped.
Yeah, I think it's a mix of one or two new people on the list. Just the people kind of in the same tier playing a little bit better. Had a decent game one, but the games 2 and 3 enough to make them drop compared to the other people in the 7th to 10th realm.
Yeah, and you'll see with the next person on this list, it helps when you get match victories, which is exactly what Roar and Penny 743 did. Adrian Legitness moving to bottom lane means there was a support role. Opened up, Penny filled in, played I think Shen all 3 games, right? No, first 2, and then the Braum the third. But was active on the Shen, high KP, good vision, 1-4-23 in their win in game 1. And then the Braum, of course, they ended up picking up that game through victory, 1-5-11. The vision score, though, you see in the vision score from
Yeah,
this player.
141, 132, yeah.
Um, outside of the first game, which was tied it up between the two supports, was like out visioning Slivik, one of the other higher vision score supports, by like 40 on average, 40 to 20. We'll call it 30. But yeah, good stuff from Penny on Roar. Don't know if they're gonna start. I feel like if you're Roar and you get a win, you just rock that roster the next
Yeah.
week. But who knows?
Yeah. Well, I think we said that about a couple other people on other teams. Like, oh, they played a lot better with this sub. Maybe they should keep rocking them. And most teams don't, so that's okay. Most
Yeah.
teams don't want to win.
Up next, player that has kind of cemented themselves kind of in the middle of the pack, Dorsky, which
Climb 2 spots.
uh, yeah, has been performing well, even though they picked up a new ADC. I don't know why they benched Venture P. I thought Venture P was one of the brighter spots of the team. Instead, Cheese has moved from top to bot, but it looked like it didn't really impact Dorsky all too much. Nice performance of the Tarek. They picked a less than conventional comp game one, I'll say, and didn't look too good on the Senna, uh, but did come against TFF, so you know,
Yeah, tough lane to go against in the TFF bot lane. I
hmm
personally don't love a Sarah Senna bot lane if you're playing against strong laners on the other side.
hmm
And it doesn't look like it worked out, but yeah, the team comp overall was kind of interesting, I'd say. But
hot
yeah,
cross dookie buns, yeah.
yeah, the Tarek was enough to make Dorsky jump a couple spots.
Yeah, and I think, Penny, small sample size, Brute Souls stand at the bottom. Somebody had to move up, so Dvorsky gets the nod. Moving forward, Slivik. Still don't know how to pronounce this player's name. Hydropoint Blacktip.
Moved up one
Consist
spot.
Yeah, was consistently falling, actually moved up despite the loss against Roar. Penny doesn't take the spot because Penny doesn't have the sample size, and stats are high on Slivik, number 8 in the stats as well. So, um, you know, I don't really know what else to say other than Slivik gets a lot of vision score and has high KP every game, which when you're playing support, there's not what else you can do, you know?
Yeah, true. I think Sylvie had some good games. The Leona looked like a really good showing.
Yeah.
And even the third game where they lost, not a big Lux fan unless there's a lot of people you can catch out. I guess there's maybe one or two for R, but um, into a Braum lane, I think you could expect them to have a decent assist rate at least. Playing a Lux, you can just play super far back, so good enough showing to climb one spot.
Number 7.
Da-na-na-na.
Right outside the left side.
Whatever, man. I've seen some bias before.
What were you last week?
7.
Were you 6? Oh, yeah, you didn't move. That's right.
We specifically talked I was gonna go up one spot every week.
I mean,
That's okay. I put myself at 6 anyway, so that feels about right. 6, 7. That's fine.
yeah.
Top
Didn't
6
move.
is top 6 is good. It's good company, so I'm chilling.
Yeah, you're chilling. I mean, support's pretty strong in this league, kind of like mid. Uh, I don't know. Game 1, I think for us was just tough, and then you got Blizzard in week 1, so you're playing catch up. So you have moved up in the stats every week, but stats is still AB at 9, so 7's a good spot.
That's okay. That's okay. I have an opportunity this week, I guess.
Yeah,
Just
always,
my game
always
ones. It's the game ones, man.
opportunities
Begin
to
this.
improve. Yeah, game 1's do be getting us. Number 6, familiar with this support. I stay true to how we conduct these things. I thought about swapping it because of the results. Did not though. So
All I'm gonna say, all I'm gonna say is there ain't no way you averaged our 2 scores and that's where they landed. You're
I
lying.
did.
You're lying to me.
Scarlet's top 5 still in stats. So
Go.
it was a bad week. I will say, horrible week for Scarlet and Pradles at the hands of CB and BK. I refused to waver on this. I was tempted because y'all took it to him games 2 and 3. but Scarlet fell from I think number 2 last week to number
Four. Four.
4 to number 6. You stay the same. So honestly, if you get like if
We were
Trent stay,
closer before that.
you'll be moving up. Yeah. So
Okay. Nah, yeah, it's fine. It's always weird whenever you have two people on the list right next to each other, and it's like, but the one below them won the game. But
yeah,
that's
it was
the
just because
bias,
Scarlet
obviously.
was high the previous lists.
Yeah.
So
So not
did fall.
definitely
Not
not the
like
worst
that.
support I've played against. So
You
chilling.
want to talk about the Nami counter pick in the Nautilus?
I I don't even know if the Nami picking Nami into Nautilus. I don't know if that one's worse or picking Mel into Nautilus.
Yeah,
Um, either one, but
it was
I'll
tough for Scarlet. It was a tough week for Veracity. Number 5, Barbaric Champion. Who I'm just gonna stop guessing. What were they at last week?
There you go. Sorry, I'm waiting for the 30-second countdown you put on these things.
It's 5 seconds. Just let it run for a little bit.
They were 6 last week, so climbing up a spot, and I think the top 5 was, especially for me ranking them, was very tough.
Hmm. Yeah. So high stats are high on Barbaric at number 4 in the stats rankings, ending up at number 5 in the overall. TDB has been playing very well, and a big part of that is and one hand lanes with someone, and that person is Barbaric. So Barbaric also doing very well. Well, looking at their games, 1-4-28 on the Braum, and then 0-1-21 on the Lulu, the Twitch Lulu, looking absolutely disgusting. Barbaric's doing really good things for that TDB squad.
Yeah, and I think it's. I mean, they moved up a spot, but I mean, looking at the stats and how this week went, it's kind of surprising. You're like, maybe they should have moved up more, but it's the top 4. I mean top 5, but top 4 is just a tough group to climb up in, unless you just have an absolutely terrible game. So
Yeah.
climbing up one spot in to 5th is very good.
Number 4, Lunar Paw, I believe. You gotta let it run like after
Yeah,
you're
whatever.
pausing
I
it.
don't trust you.
Anyways, Lunar Paw at number 4. What was this player at last
Was
week?
5 last week, so
Okay.
also climbed up 1.
So really just Scarlet
Just
dropping.
because
I think
Scarlet
moved
dropped.
everybody up.
Yep.
Stats aren't. I mean, they're high on Lunar Palm, but not as high as number 4. How about number 6? Really good leak last week against PLW. Looking at the games, 3-1-15, the MF Sarah combo. Uh, Good to see. And then the game after. Oh wait, no, I'm too far. My apologies. Fake news.
Milio, back to back.
Yeah, back to back Millie. Oh, that's right.
And sorry.
Okay, Star Burrito, you're gonna have to tell me why you guys got beat up by Cibermilio game 1 and said let's run it back game 2. Either way, the Cibermilio looking incredibly strong. Don't know if they'll get that combo again. Um, but good stuff from Otiolo, or from this Lunar Paw.
Yeah, this was
Yeah.
the top 4 for support. I redid like 4 times, and so it was super tough. Lunar Power ended up at 2 on my list, but it was just the top 4 can just be swapped around in any order, I think, and no one can be too upset about it. But yeah, good showings. Got to play back to back, same champ, same bot lane. So I don't know. That's DraftKings.
On the trend of you just beat this player, but they're above you. Number 3, Aoka lost to Lunar Paw and OTLO. Where were they last week? Number 3,
They were
right?
number 1, and I
Oh, they
think
were
that's
number
why.
1.
So Lunar was at
Ah,
5 and Aoka was at 1. So they both went in the right
Aoka dropping
directions.
2, jumping 1. Yeah, I mean, in terms of performance, yeah. Stats are really high in Aoka at number 3 in stats right now. Not the best showing into OTLO, as we have previously discussed. They tried a Vayne Braum draft, which I mean, Plasma Wolves looked like they struggled game one. Didn't have the worst showing in that game though. And then Aoka in their loss went 2-4-19 on the Renata. So really not much to ask for more of in that game either. Vision was a little bit lower than Lunar, but other than that, both games uh, still solid performances. So I
Yeah.
mean, you move down, but you're still in the top three.
Yeah, and I think I assume even if they even if they lose another one, ooh, hint hint. Stat wise, Aoka was going to stay top five regardless. It's a very solid support. Yeah, game one not the best showing, but game two solid despite a loss. So just dropping 2 points, still top three.
Yep. Into the top two. At number two, who's gonna be? Poodle's in the chat. Poodle, it's not you. It's number two, Triumphant, who
Was
has made a
three.
return into the top two. Yeah. Uh, got a win in the full 3-game series. Seems like that's how NLE likes to win. But was doing work even in the lost 2-2 and 12 on the Nautilus. I was wondering if Triumphant was going to stay a little bit more bot side than in previous weeks. Looks like that was what they were trying in game one. Didn't get them the win, but it gave Ferdy probably their best showing of the season. 7-3-4 on the Kaisa with that Nautilus. And then games 2 and 3, only dying 2 more times. 1-1 26 on the Rel in game 3 and 2-1 15 on the Kench in game 2.
Yeah, I think the KDA's probably one of, if not the best for support this week. I think the vision score was a little lacking compared to at least the other support
Yeah.
in those games, and then also I can't completely overlook that they were playing one of the bottom teams.
Yeah.
But despite that, I mean, just about as good a stat line as you could possibly get, which is why they climbed up one spot, just not enough to hit number one.
Not enough to hit number one. So, in terms of stats, the top 3 are as
Shown.
they are presented because number 1, Poodle 25 of TFF. I don't know. I'd have to double check this. Poodle for the longest time had the highest KP of any support because of the way TFF plays. I imagine that still rings true. Um, really solid stuff from this player. A big part of why TFF is winning is because of solid bot lane play combined with mid carry. You get into that late game, and it seems like TFF just knows how to execute, at that 25-minute mark and on. So, Poodle holding it down at number 1.
Yeah, Milio, Seraphine, good showings. I don't think they had to do necessarily a ton. Well, game 2 was a 42-minute banger, but they played OSG Sub-Zero, who I think's a solid middle pack team. This upcoming week will be the real test, because they're taking on TD, right?
Yes.
So yeah, it'll be a
Stream game.
interesting matchup, 1 versus 5.
It will. We'll have to see. I think the bot lane is what we'll look for in that game, right? You got One Hand and Barbaric taking on Poodle and Chromalone. So it'll be fun to watch, hopefully.
I agree.
Power bottom rankings.
Whoa.
Number 13. Zarcy's. Zarcy is a player that, I mean, so this is the team that's averaging less than 1 KDA per game. And if you're doing that, it means you're not having fun when you're playing ADC. So,
not smiling.
Yeah, you're not smiling. I don't think Zarcy's or really anybody for that OSG squad is having the best of times week in, week out. I hope they are. I hope they're finding some things to laugh about. But it's just like Brazinger, right? Like, until you pick up a win or show something more, like this is
That's where you at.
is their spot. This is their
and,
spot.
and they had a bye, so naturally.
Yep. Number 12.
Stoic dropping 1 spot
Stoic
from
dropping
11th.
one, which was surprising to me. But
Could be. It's got to be somewhat stats and me. I don't know.
it's you.
Oh,
It's okay.
what the hell?
Uh, number two, Stoic. I mean, Stoic. So the problem I have with the BLM roster is their bot lane does nothing, and I say that in the best of like, they don't win them the game and they don't lose them the game. They're just there, and which isn't a bad thing. It is a bad thing if you're not winning though. BLM struggling the past couple of weeks, so slipping one spot makes sense in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll say 9, 10, 11, 12 are all kind of a toss up and like a similar could have kind of gone in any order. Um, I just feel like I've seen uh, one or two pop off games from the people right above them. That's why.
Okay. Well, you'll have some explaining to do
What the?
because number 11, the bot laner you just went against,
It's
would be
kind of high.
Varsity Frails, which if you guys weren't watching, games 2 and 3 was a tough showing for Veracity in the bot lane specifically.
Yeah, well, Prados was 9th last week, so falling 2 spots. I mean, I don't know why I got explaining to do. I put Prados at 9th again on my side. Um, so either you mess it up or it's just the stats that brought them a little
I'm
bit down.
surprised you kept them at ninth, is what I'm saying.
Oh, oh,
Because Prados, the only reason why Prados is in 13 is because Zarcy's is at 13.
I think because I had Prados at 6 last week, so three
Oh,
spots
okay.
um, was still a decent drop.
I see, I see.
Um, it's kind of a toss up. So I've played against like what Stoic and Prados in the bot.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'd say it's pretty close. Like I said, I mean, I said before I seen who it was actually going to be, that 9, 10, 11th, and 12th are all pretty much on the same level for me. So it could have went either way. It's
I
just who was where from last week on my list is why they fell that way.
I have I have a tinge of a bias because of some stuff that happened, but the difference between Stoic and Praetors for me is like Stoic exists. Praetor is like when they're having bad games. We even saw it in week one. It's like real bad games. Like you're losing your team games, kind of games. And that's why I was surprised you had him at 9. But you do your rankings a little bit differently than I do mine, just because you're looking at team success overall. Like obviously you're
Yeah, and that
comparing
probably played
BLM
some
and
into it.
Veracity. You know, Praetos and Veracity are a little bit more successful than BLM currently, even though I think they're tied in the standings. Like it makes sense on paper. I just when a player goes, you know, 1-16 across 2 games, it's tough.
Yeah, but see, I can't penalize somebody for doing poorly against me and my 80 carry.
Oh yeah, because you're just that good. I see. I see.
Yeah, well, the 80 carry is I'm just like number 7th or something like that for support. But um, I don't know. I feel like landing at 11 feels right. Uh, I don't think 13th was gonna happen just because like Xarxes has that
Yeah.
on lock, respectfully. Um, so yeah, anywhere from 10th, 11th, 12th makes sense to me.
Yeah. Anyways, top 10. Gonna be a player that has hovered around this range. It's gonna be DP Rico. Rico pops off when DP picks up games, and then doesn't perform when they don't. So it seems like this team kind of lives or dies by how Rico plays a little bit. Um, I'll have to see. Did Rico pick up a win against NLE on Misfortune?
No, it was the Caitlyn actually.
Okay,
Caitlyn
okay.
Alistar.
Kayla
Not that they
Alistar.
had the best showing. I mean, even looking at the aftermatch report, it's like if you didn't tell me who won, it would be a complete toss up because no one like really popped off. I mean, Ferdy and Triumphant had a solid showing.
Are you talking about like game one
Yeah, game one.
specifically? Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of interesting, I guess. Check your mini map in the mid lane did pretty well, but yeah, I don't know. Rico kind of let me down. I think Rico's better than um, a couple other people that are not shown, but I just can't justify ranking Rico any higher until they reach their ceiling.
Yeah, I mean, ADC is one of those roles where your performance is gonna kind of like dictate how well your team is doing, and so even stats wise, this bottom four, with the exception of Pradles and Stoic, are right on par with the stats. I think stats have Stoic and Pradles swapped. Um, but yeah, like it's tough when you're not winning games. Like everybody's, I don't know if everybody's played ADC, but people that have played ADC, when you're in a game and the top laner's just popping off, you show up to a team fight, get one hot, like one tapped, even though you're doing relatively well in lane. It's just it feels bad. And these teams that have yet to put it together, playing around the AD carry might be the least of their concerns. So it's just tough. Um, it's tough, tough spot to be. Anyways, number 9.
Adrian Legitness, who was a different role, right? For
Yeah, it
RAR.
was support. So one of the higher vision score per minute ADCs last week. Um, didn't play a traditional bot laner, so
Yeah,
take it for what it's worth. Did get the win, and did look solid in the role that they were playing. I think they won the Swain and Ziggs games, from what I remember
correct. Yeah,
correctly.
didn't win the Mundo game, but it was a valiant effort.
Yeah, they they did have him play, I believe, Mundo mid. I don't know, maybe it was Stink Pickle on
That's what I
Zaya
was
mid. Either
assuming. I
way,
didn't see, but it
I
feels like
think
it
it's
makes
Mundo
sense.
mid. So we went with that 2 out of the 3 games. So I don't know. Really good performance. I don't expect this to be a player that like, okay, we need to win this game, and Zaya or like Kaisa or Vayne is super meta right now. We're gonna pick Adrian Legitness, Kaisa, and let him run wild. I don't think that's gonna be his game plan. I think he's just kind of show up for the team and do stuff in team fights, which is not bad for your bot laner, but I don't know if the carry potential is there, but good enough for number 9.
Yeah, no, the number 9 is not a bad place to be, especially in uh, bot lane with such a stacked, I'd say top five or six or so.
Yeah. Number
New
8.
newcomer to this list, right? Was top lane.
Yes. Yep, was top. Still performed really well in the bottom lane for a team that is struggling right now. Him and Dorsky, probably one of the more, you could argue, underrated bot laners. It is a small sample size, 2 game sample size, but um, the Seraphine was what it was, the Seraphine Senna. But then even in the loss, 4-4-7 on a Jinx that was playing with the Taric, not a super conventional pairing, still doing pretty well. It's good to see. Um, you know,
Yeah, played against a good team in TFF, so I think it could have been anywhere from 7th to 10th. But 8th is definitely a good spot. Small sample size, so that's kind of skews it just a little bit. And played against a
hmm
good team, so looking for a good showing against Xerxes on Tuesday.
who knows? Maybe Zarceus comes out of the hyperbolic time chamber. A changed
Maybe.
man.
Yeah.
Number 7, new on this list as well. Bixus.
Bixus
Last time we saw him, he was subbing mid.
against
Uh,
us.
yeah, against us. Didn't have the best performance one of the games, right? You said, uh, or no, that was somebody else. Either way, I mean, 1-3-12 in the game 3 loss on a misfortune
Yeah,
is
that's
tough.
a feels bad in a game 3 losing your AD carry. Not, I mean 12 assists. I mean didn't like feed or
Yeah,
anything, but
it doesn't
you
look
want
like
your
misfortune's
misfortune
the
to.
best pick for them because even in the game 1, they played misfortune what 6-6-6. Uh, and then popped off on the Kaisa. So it's just interesting that we didn't see that.
When different summoners every game, they rock double TP bot lane in game 3.
Yeah.
That's
So
something.
I mean, I think they're just trying to play the Doki game. You're never gonna win if you're trying to play the Doki game. Uh, had that stellar performance on the Kaisa. We've seen what this player could do in mid. Uh, Tough to rank them below any of the players that you see currently below them. So
Yeah.
I think seven's in a good spot. If they continue to play ADC, I could see them maybe not play the MF as much, or maybe just get some more reps on it. Either way. Number six, Ferdy. 6 and Ferdy. I think Ferdy's been number six like the entire season. It feels
Uh,
like.
Nah, he was 8th last week, and I feel like before that, Ferdy was higher.
Okay.
I think they just kind
I
of
think
had maybe a 2 week stretch of not the best showings, maybe.
yeah, perhaps the bump up is because Triumphant is trying to support the ADC a little bit more and the rest of the team a little bit less in the early game. From what I could tell, uh, probably the best 3 game series from Ferdy, in my opinion, that
Yeah,
we've seen.
yeah, definitely some good games. Pulled out some. Did he pull out? No, he pulled out 2 Kaiser games, and then the spicy Calista game, which might not be spicy to them in the bot lane, but you definitely don't see it very much
And
in
Sentinel,
the
yeah.
plat-ish elo. So I'm a big fan of the champ, and looks like they did super well on it. The Calista Tom Kinch pairing was that game. That was game 2.
Yep. Yeah, it looked good. I mean, it was probably their best 3 game stretch for that like specific duo. Triumphant, of course, doing a lot of stuff for their team usually, but good to see that their laning has kind of righted the ship, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5, new to the top 5. We know this guy. Really good performances game 2 and 3.
Yeah. We, as a team, or I'll take blame as a captain, game 1 was just, it was something. It was something that happened. And kind of forced some things all around for everybody, kind of. So, if we just, to cover up game 1, it was a super great showing. But yeah, really popped off games 2 and 3. We played super confident, and so yeah, so it was good games. Like, granted, the other team kind of gave us some interesting picks into us, but BK is definitely uh, expanding. Let's see, what's the right words?
Their carry potential from
Yeah,
ADC.
there you go. There you go. Yeah, I'm trying to, whenever it comes to our own players, don't want to divulge too much, but yeah, BK's popping off. Been climbing every week. Granted, it will be the same as last week at number 5, but he has to stay top 5 or else he might get benched. So
There's the incentive. Number 4, gonna be an interesting matchup coming into the Tuesday. Nike Dragon has fallen. I repeat, Plasma Wolf ball laner has fallen. Tough game 1, Vayne performance. Game 2 was solid, not great. Stats have him at number 3. So being at number 4, I mean, makes sense. Really good player. I expect to bounce back. Hopefully
hope
not
not.
against us. Hopefully not against us. But the week after is when we expect Nike Dragon to kind of start picking up back into gear. But yeah, I mean, top 3 in stats, number 4 overall.
Yeah, I think AD carry like mid. At least the top 4 to 5 was super difficult on where to rank who. Because taking all the other weeks into consideration, it's tough to see Nike Dragon anything but what they've been 1 or 2 every week, I assume.
They're number 1 every week up until
So
now.
obviously, a loss is most likely going to drop you at least 1 or 2 spots. And then I think maybe just the stats line game 1.
Yeah, I mean,
helped that.
the way that I do the stats, like a lot of the leads that these people have, like when they're like number 1, number 2, number 3, they're like of the slimmest of margins. So one bad week could be the difference between number 1 and in Nike Dragon's case number 3. So for stats, obviously number 4
and
on the board. So
yeah, for me it's just the top 5 or 6 all had very good weeks, or
yeah,
good weeks into great weeks, and so anybody having just they still played really well. Yeah, just the other people right next to them played hard pop off games. So
yeah, and I kind of like the way we do it because the stats are kind of like what has the season said, like across the whole thing, and yours is more like okay, this week, based off of what I had them before, how did they do?
Yep.
So I think it's a good mix. So All right, let's go. We got three more to go. I don't know if we can do it in a minute, but number three going to be Chrome alone.
I'll snooze it. We can chill.
Okay, okay. The bot laner that has been paired with Poodle, a new pairing that happened last week, continues to do well this week. Chrome alone doing a lot for this team.
Yeah, Chrome's one of the ones that did jump up a spot. Was fourth last week.
Yeah. So number two in stats, and I'm trying to think. I think him and Efron do 57% of their team's damage between the two of them. Chrome's doing 30 in his own right. So, uh, you know, if you're doing 30% of your team's damage and you're putting up good numbers, tough to argue with the top three ranking.
Yeah, top three feels right, even with the kind of role swap and everything that happened earlier on. Didn't play against like the best team this week, but still had super good showings and has a strong match up coming on Tuesday against somebody that hasn't been shown on this list yet.
Yeah. Speaking of said person, number two gonna be One Hand TD Blessed. One Hand has been popping off quietly and consistently pretty much this whole season, even when I don't know if you were like I think most people thought they were struggling. It was just more of like how good is CDB because they beat the two worst teams in the league and then they lost against Plasma Wolves.
Yeah.
So the last 2 weeks have done a pretty good job of painting a clearer picture. Is number four in stats, so got a little bit of a bump. But number two, I mean, this team kind of goes through this player. We talked about their Twitch game last week.
17
It's
and 1.
just, yeah, One Hand's doing a lot for TDB.
And just playing with one hand.
Just playing with one hand. It's crazy.
Coquino.
Yeah. So, if I'm not mistaken, Coquino is now the KDA leader, which KDA isn't everything. But if you're playing a position like AD carry, it's better to be alive more often than not. So, now the KDA leader at a whopping 12.8 is doing 25% of their team's damage. And CSing well, you're looking at the outside of jungle and support, their highest KP between the carrier roles. So I think Kino is kind of I mean, on all honesty, like that top six, like 1 through 6, really solid.
Yeah, solid, tough to rank. I had a few differences, but it was just like, these could just close your eyes and throw them in any ranking, and it wouldn't be the end of the world. But Coquino dropping the game with 0 deaths, sorry.
0 kills.
0 deaths, so little perfect game action. Game
Yeah.
1, I think. Yeah, nice showing, much deserved. Was number 2 last week, so that win
And
helped.
they beat Nike Dragon, so no reason to not rank them number 1. Quick break, support, and then team rankings.
Quick break, top lane,
Or sorry, we already did
and then
support.
team
You're right.
rankings, and we'll wrap it up. So just
My
one
bad.
more break. We will be back.
I've been told we're back, so we should probably just jump straight into it. We got top lane rankings and team rankings, and then we're done. So let's just get into it. Let's just
Top lane.
run
Top lane.
straight to
Top
the
five.
top
Top
lane.
five. Top five.
Not top 5,
Oh,
not quite
top
yet.
13.
Top 13. Uh, gonna be new face
New face.
to the list.
Hunter 85. M7.
Yeah, M7.
Let me see. Because they are new to the OSGS roster.
Yes, yes.
So small sample
Replacing
size to begin with.
cheese. Yeah. Yep. Small
Yeah.
sample size. Don't actually. Usually do a pretty good job of remembering off the top of the head like what these players played. I think they played an Orn game once.
I'm checking real quick. I'll say their previous top laner was ranked 8th, but one sample size of one game is tough. If I could find them somewhere, maybe.
It is okay. Yeah,
Couldn't find
played Urgot 4-3, and then played Gnar 3-4-6 into a Nautilus. So
Yeah,
I
really,
mean,
kind of an interesting game of nothing too crazy happening on the top side.
yeah, it's just tough. I think obviously the Urgot game was probably a little bit better in terms of like individual performance, even though KDA wasn't as good. The damage numbers were nicer. CS was a little bit better. I don't know. I like it's just a small sample size. Didn't really stand out to me. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think if they
It's just
had
tough.
more games, I don't think they would be in the bottom 1 or 2, or 3 maybe. But yeah, only having 2 games to go off of, and neither one of them particularly super great. This is where you're gonna land.
Yeah.
But I believe it's a new starter. I believe.
Yep, new starter. So we'll get plenty more opportunities to see Hunter play. Number 12, number 12. A team that has a player that has kind of jumped around a little between the starting and subs. I believe he's gonna start from now on.
I believe so. They did drop 1 spot.
Veldroth. Yep. Which I think Veldroth played mid last week or something, didn't they?
They had a bye.
Oh yeah, that's right, that's right. So
So naturally dropping 1 spot.
yeah.
Um,
Veldroth's actual stats, not that far off from, the 3 or 4 that are ahead of him. Getting the bye obviously didn't help the stats department, and so we'll see how Veldroth does going forward. Definitely potential there, in my opinion.
yeah, and 12th and 13th playing against each other. So we'll see who actually should be in the bottom spot.
We will see number 11, a player that has consistently fallen since week 1.
They
Or
were
no,
they were
sorry.
13th. They were 13th for a while actually. I think they were
Yeah,
13th last week for sure. So
I'm gonna be angry. Angry. It's known that I'm not a big fan of some of these wild picks that come out of DP in the top lane. Looking at their games against NLE, played an Orn game in game 3, a
2
Gnar
Gnar
game in game
games.
2, and a Gnar game in game 1. So honestly, the pool looks like it's improving. Diet Coke, one of the better top laners though, and I don't know. It seems like Angry really likes to win, and then outside of that, I don't know if he gets lost in the sauce. I don't know if it's not being communicated where he should be. One of the lower KP numbers from a top laner Angry has, but also has some of the higher damage numbers. So
Hmm.
I don't know if he's just overfighting in sides. I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know. I
just wants to
haven't seen
fight.
any of
Just
their
wants to hang.
games.
Just wants to hang out topside and fight a little bit.
Yeah,
Maybe just
but
hoping the rest of the team will pull out a victory.
we'll see. We'll see. I mean,
But
Angry is one of the lower ranked in terms of solo queue.
hmm,
So in a pretty strong, it's top laner rankings are like very top heavy, I would say.
yeah,
The bottom have kind of left a little bit to be desired. Speaking of leaving a bit to be desired. Reverse, I think was at one point 3 or 4 right after the crazy
Yeah.
week 1 the HPB had.
Yep, started pretty high for them. It's been falling every week, but was 10th last week, so didn't fall, just stayed the same.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I mean, no offense to anybody involved, but it's gonna be hard to kind of crack that bottom three unless you're really having a bad week. Yeah, I just HPB obviously experimenting this last week with a little bit of a roster swap reverse just hasn't gotten it going since week 1, and
Yeah,
that's pretty much their whole squad.
yeah. I was gonna say kind of the theme with their team, a team I thought was gonna be one of the best teams, just hasn't been able to really figure it out. I kind of say the same thing with DP. I feel like their players have the potential to climb higher. They just also can't really figure it out. So, two teams kind of in the same boat.
Yeah, and to Reverse's credit, I will say even though Roar wasn't having the best of seasons, it still isn't. Feathers has been pretty consistent and kind of got the better of him. It looks like in lane, so wasn't surprising, but it also still wasn't the greatest showing.
Yeah.
Continuing forward, Islamic Samurai at number 9. Did he move up?
He moved up from 12th.
Okay, makes sense. Has been consistently getting better week in and week out. Used to be like TFF was winning in spite of some of Islamic's performances, Samurai's performances. Um, but since then, I think had a pop off Scion game last week.
Yeah, and pulled out the spicy Nautilus. So naturally,
Yes.
you have to climb.
Yeah, if you win on the Nautilus top, you climb. Yeah, I went 6-2 and 20
Yeah.
on the Scion. Did pretty decent damage and was probably annoying on the sides. And then, honestly, just being a team fight tank, Nautilus is a little weird, but if you're feeling it, you're feeling it. Opens up a flex, I guess, for Poodle. So
Yeah, it might have just been like a flex pick type thing, and just went top
I
and
won't
chilled
die
for a
to the
bit.
Gnar. I'll just
Yeah,
show up in team fights and BCC. Yeah,
yeah,
makes
worked out.
sense.
Worked out when you have a strong mid and 80 carry. You can just kind of pick some spicy stuff top side.
Yep. Number 8, Tiny Fist of Fury for BLM. So Tiny is a player that kind of fulfills that glue role that I talk about, where pretty sure every game he's played has been a team fight tank. Um, I will have to double check and see for this last week, but I expect more of the same. Actually, no.
Shin and
So
Cannon.
the Shen has been well documented, but the Kennen is new to the fold and actually did pretty well on it. 6-2 and 0
Yeah, no, it's just I feel like it's kind of weird for Cannon.
for a
But
Kennen.
if you're playing team fight, but overall their
I
team
mean, look
just
at their
kind of had a
team, dude.
yeah. It's just might as well just give them all the tiny. But just didn't work out.
Yeah, like the team. My guess is the Kennen was getting the kills because the team was just lacking damage.
Yeah,
Either way, good. Honestly, I'm happy to see him perform on Kennen because it would go a long way for BLM to get another solid carry
hmm
going in the roster. Maybe that is Tiny. Who knows?
yeah. I
Maybe
mean,
that opens up their role a little bit.
yeah, because both their bot laners played supportive champs obviously, and then or with the Ash being 80 carry support, and then Vigar with a pretty supportive slash just a carry late game. So I meant scaling build.
Yeah.
So that's kind of just all their damage really.
Yeah. So
Did
we'll have to.
Tiny did climb one spot from
Yeah,
ninth.
we'll have to see how BLM approaches this roster conundrum or whatever. Uh, Number 7, Diet Coke
Fell 2 spots.
fell 2 spots.
See,
A
was it,
product of
I
I
think
think some of the players below him doing better, um,
yeah,
or popping off a bit more, if that makes sense.
yeah.
Because you look at their 3 game series, 2 games of Casante, which
3 games.
actually 3 games,
Yeah.
and really popped off the third game. Otherwise, it was just kind of a quiet week for Diet Coke.
Yeah, so not really At least for me, looking at it like, oh, he played not super great and is just gonna fall. It's just the other people right next to him had some good showing, so jumped Diet Coke, and the first two games, yeah, just didn't really have to do anything. Well, I guess game one they lost, but even in the game two showing when he went 2-2-8, just didn't really have to do anything. When your mid laner's 9-1 and your AD carry's 11-1, you can
Yep.
just kind of hang out.
Quiet performance. Pretty much stays in the same generalish area. So we'll have to see how NLE continues to improve week in and week out. The biggest faller of the day, UB Awesome, I think was number one last
Was
week.
number one. And if we did this after game one, would still be clear number one.
Yeah,
But we have to take games 2 and 3 into consideration.
yeah.
Um,
And stats still have him at number two. Fell from number one to number two in stats. I think it was more of uh, I don't want to say we cracked how to approach ferocity, but when put in a particular position, Ubi Awesome wasn't able to do what his team has been used to him doing, if that makes sense.
yeah, I mean, part of it is we're pretty good about adapting after game one.
Yeah.
Soccer game one, but we're good at adapting. It kind of seems like how they approached game two is kind of how we approached game one. A little bit too spiciness, a little bit of overcooking, uh, and then game three was game three.
Yeah,
So
dude.
uh,
I mean, he'll be the first to tell you the blind pick Riven was not it.
true, 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 true. And I don't think it's necessarily like, oh, we thought you were the best, and now we think you're just a middle player.
No, no,
Necessarily,
no,
it's
no.
you had two not so great showings, and the people right above you is one very high good company, and they all had good weeks. So
Yeah,
just people jumping more so than you following.
and it's tough. I will say our top laner has since hit silver. But when you're struggling into a bronze, not the best of look either. But I will say it was more of a team performance issue because he was still making his presence known on sides and things, even in game three. So game two, if you throw that out, if you just look at game one and game three, it was like really solid in the counter pick, and then game three was not so solid um, on a blind pick. So I don't know. You can debate whether or not UB should be higher on this list, but right now at number six, number five, into the top five we go. Uh, a name that is starting to get some recognition around
Yeah,
these
finally
parts.
cracking the top five. Was sixth last week, and like we said, played really well games 2 and 3 against UB Awesome. So
Even in game
makes
one,
even game one,
you know.
even game one, even game one. It's just overall our whole team game one was just
Yeah. He was the bright spot in game one, I will say. Uh, DK, see, glue guy to the max. He will just lock in whatever the team thinks is best for them to win, which is awesome. And then, honestly, going toe to toe with a really good laner in their own right in UB, enough to move them up one spot. Hard to justify putting up into the top four, top three, even maybe after next week. He already took off one of the top laners, and we got another one coming up. So we'll
hmm
see.
yeah. I think I mean I don't know, Adam's slightly higher, but that's okay. Stats are stats. So um, got DDoS IRL game one of week one.
Yeah.
Um, so it makes sense top five, and yeah, this the top four is a very tough group to get into. Speaking of,
Into the top four we go.
it's gonna be Feathers from RAR climbing up from seventh last week.
Yeah. So I will say, so stats have him at three once again. Feathers will always be very gold efficient, and he has his champs. It's just a matter of whether the team is performing or not. I think winning and probably moving up on your bracket or whatever power rankings
Uh,
helped Feathers out a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah. Move Feathers Up had, I mean, three good showings. Pulled the
Yeah.
first phase ban. I don't know where they ended up actually picking their champ. That's not worth me looking into unless I'm playing them right now. But I mean, popped off all. I'd say at least two games. Even the second game was still a very solid showing.
Yeah.
Getting his known good champs, and if you're gonna do that and disrespect him, he's gonna show you why maybe you shouldn't give him Urgot.
Mm-hmm.
An 8-1-5 and an 11-1-9 showing on the Urgot games. So much deserved. I don't see Feathers, dropping from top or middle tiers. And Feathers going in the right direction, climbing up.
Yeah. What was he last week and the
7.
overall power rankings?
7.
Yeah. So quite a bit of a jump. Um, we'll have to keep an eye on Roar. I feel like Feathers is gonna be uh ranked pretty much based on how his team performs week in week out. Number three, quickly becoming one of the top laners of the league, was absent while he got his games in, has
Mm-hmm.
returned and has made his presence felt. Pilum Mirialis.
Yeah, was fourth last week after their one game. That was last week, right? I think
Yeah.
where they split games with their sub, back into the starting lineup against the PLW team, who was a very good opponent. Yeah, I mean, pulling out carry champ game one in the Darius, and then tank duty, which isn't a tank if it's Ornn, the mage assassin himself. But yeah, 41k damage on the Ornn game two, so
Yeah,
good
and I will
showing.
say, the Darius performance good in its own right, but when you get counterpicked like Pilum did, more than known counter to Ornn, and kind of, you know, the more did damage. Don't get me wrong, but 7-4 and 15 on an Ornn, and then you look across the way, the Moors 8, 11, and 5. I would say you won despite the being counterpicked. Um, you know, this guy's good. Hasn't cracked the top two quite yet, but I expect as he continues to play well, we'll see him right up there because number two is the top laner he got the better of. Uh, didn't didn't take that spot based off of how he did it. You can debate whether or not he should be at number two right now. Neptune Rises though.
I put him at
Uh,
number 2 for what it's worth.
yeah, number yeah. Pelum's right now he's playing catch up in
Yeah,
stats,
that's
so
true.
he's number 5 right now in stats, but he's only gotten 3 games and he's already at number 5. So, um, Neptune Rises at number 2. Number 1 in stats right now. Did lose. Has been solid up until that loss against OTLO. Um, could he be 3, potentially even 4? Maybe. I think next week will just give us a better picture of how good Neptune really is. But has been a solid player so far.
Yeah,
This whole split.
uh, did I guess did not drop a spot. Even though our number 1 did drop, so Neptune stays the same. Just kind of got leapfrogged by somebody because of the loss. You definitely argue 2 and 3 could have gone either way.
Yeah.
But either way, the top 3 feels like it's very 1A, 1B, 1C, and then maybe
Yeah.
like 4 through 7 are kind of in another tier, but not that big of a gap between tiers 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see who ends up there, and of course, the one that's not showing back into the number 1 spot, as I believe they used to be.
Yeah.
Um,
Complex. Probably the highest KDA across top laners right now, which once again kills and deaths aren't everything, but has a pretty high KP as well, almost 60% on these top lane carries that he's picking. Solid damage numbers, just really efficient overall. Complex.
dropped the perfect game on the Malphite, a 109.
Yeah. So, I mean,
So they have
I don't know. Complex has been good, and some other players above him faltered, and
Yeah, I think
Uh,
that was part of it. I mean, Complex had a good week. There were a couple players that maybe had better weeks, but the two players above them last week lost and dropped. So
yeah,
kind of a mix of everything. But number one's number one, no matter how you want to explain it.
yeah. So there you have it, the top lane power rankings. Honestly, I think across the board, all the positional rankings have been, pretty indicative or pretty accurate, in my honest opinion. Of course, I am biased because we are making them, but
I think what we did
uh,
is right.
yeah, yeah, I do. You guys will have to let us know. Here's where we get into some spice, though, potentially.
Okay, okay, okay. Let me pull up
Team
last week's
power
record.
rankings. While CB pulls up last week's
Yeah, we're
rankings.
chilling. Of course, like always, if you want the actual who's in what place, just look at the actual standings on LXC. You can
Yeah,
get it there. Granted, it's kind of tough because so many teams are tied, record-wise. But obviously, if we were just going off of well, who beat who and whatever, we'll just look at the actual standings. So this takes into account who you've actually played and stuff like that.
yeah. And this time around, I got my stats calculation.
Okay, yeah. So it's not
To
just 100% my fault.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So you can blame the spice on me this time. Because some surprises here. One that is not surprising though is number 13. I think all five of their starters were number 13, which is it's
Yeah,
tough.
and coming off a bye, it's just yeah,
Coming
you're
off
not
a
moving up
bye,
anywhere.
they got the win though. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, not a bye. They came off a win.
yeah, 2-0 win. OSGA Avalanche. Until they pick up like a real game win against living players and not just an FF.
Yeah,
Um, this is their spot to hold on to. Um, if they do, even if I mean if they pick up matches, that would be that'd be something. It's just tough. They're in a tough sector. Here's where the spice starts.
okay, okay.
uh, HPB at number 12.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean,
It's
looking up
tough.
at like week one, they were at least middle of the pack with some high ranked players. So they haven't figured it out.
They haven't figured it out. We broke them. Just kidding. I don't know what's going on over there. They're trying stuff out. Stash actually have them at number 9, which is interesting. Kind of showing the power of the Sector 1.
Hmm.
But I think if you look at the standings, the fact that they did lose to Roar, it was a 3-game series, but uh, I think 12 is a good spot. Um, even though they are behind some winless teams.
Yeah, I they have opportunities to get back,
Every e-
um,
every single team on this list has opportunities
but
to
they
prove
have to
themselves.
they have to pick up some wins because they are in sector one. So time is running out.
Yeah. Number 11, OSGS. So I believe they have one real win and then one FF win against CEW. Um, I
But
don't know.
they're second seed. I mean,
They're second seed, and I mean, if OSGS and HP were to play right now, I think it'd be anybody's guess onto who's actually gonna win, just based off of how their seasons are going. So,
yeah, and they play the
um,
13th seed.
yeah, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, HP does have a match win, but I don't know. I'm not convinced that if they played OSGS, they'd win, and so they're actually below them. I will say stats are kind of the same way. Um, OSGS is 12, so
Okay,
I
okay.
just the number 9 versus number 12 in stats. It's close.
Yeah.
It is close.
And to mention, OSGA was, of course, 13th last week, so they'll stay there. HP Blacktip was ninth, so falling 3 spots, and Sub Zero was 8th, also falling 3 spots.
Yep. Into the top 10 we go, and kind of surprising.
They climbed two
Kind of
spots. I mean, yes,
surprising.
not picking up wins. Are they the only team without a win?
And
Uh,
Avalanche.
No, Avalanche is one. Avalanche is 1-3
Avalanche
because
got the CEW win.
yeah, I mean, still as far as like record goes, technically.
Yeah, Avalanche has won a game.
Yeah, yeah, but I don't know.
So
Hellfire seems like they're so close to figuring something out,
yeah.
but consistently not figuring it out. So that's just
I mean, do you reward them for being close? Stats have them at
no.
11. So
Okay, okay.
OSGS has a win and is below them in the actual stats ranking. So I don't know. It's you know, I
That's
mean,
like
not
they're
to add
close.
some spice, I think HP Blacktip and DP Hellfire should scrim and then tell us who won. That's what
Yeah.
I think should happen.
Okay, okay, okay. I'll say I don't know. One of my teams hasn't. Two of my teams haven't shown that I put lower.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like Hellfire not in the bottom three, despite not having a win, picking up games, and I think they just need to play one of these teams. Have they played one of these teams? I assume not.
Uh,
I assume not.
nope, I don't think so.
They
Cause
played
Sub Zero,
TD, BLM, and No Veracity.
yeah, Blacktip and Avalanche are on the other side of
Yeah,
the league, so
yeah.
I
They
don't
have
think they ever play.
they have OTLO coming up next.
Yeah, it's tough.
They do play RAR after that, so potential decently game there, and they get the free win from CE after that, and then they play Sub Zero. So they have, the easier
They have
portion of their schedule.
opportunities.
Yeah.
Opportunities. We'll see how strong this number 10 ranking holds for DP. But, in the top 10, despite not picking up a match win, you got to feel pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Number 9, Braum Lives Matter. So, I don't know what they were last week. Probably pretty close.
They were 10th last week.
So, it did go up a spot despite a loss. Stats have them at 10.
Okay.
Which was surprising to me. So pretty close, but in this 9 to 10 range. Kind of hard to justify putting them below DP.
Yeah, that's where we draw the line. I mean, we can give you some bump up for not having any wins but playing well, but there's a line for it. So
There's a line, and that is between 9 and 10. Yeah, I don't know. Braum Lives Matter needs to figure it out. Do they play DP or have they already played?
I think they've already played them. Yeah, they played in week
Okay,
2,
so
so
they're
they
safe.
beat them. They beat them 2-1.
Yeah. So I mean, a full 3-game series. Who knows if they played again? Could DP pick up the surprise win? It's the what if game, but stats aren't high on them, so I think number 9's good.
Yep,
Number
and
8.
BLM does play No Veracity, so that's a very, like we mentioned earlier, important game. So number
Yeah.
8's going to be RAR, jumping up from 11th place.
Yeah, so picking up a win, shooting them up, because Sector 2 is really wide open. Did they play BLM soon? They play
RAR has
them.
not played DPH.
Oh, they play
yet,
them the last week. They played BLM the last week. They played DPH
and No Veracity.
next week. They have a bye this week. So yeah, honestly, like
Yeah, RAR has plenty of
Roar could be
opportunities.
number 2 by all is said and done, despite going 0-3 to start the year.
Yeah. I won't take full credit. But every week, that I bet on them, they lost. And so last week, I pulled the reverse psychology. I bet it against them, and they won. And that's all I'm gonna say. No, thank you necessary.
Yeah. So you want the surprising stat of the day?
Mm-hmm.
Stats have them top 6. They have them on the top left. Yeah, left side.
Yeah. That's,
So
I think it's
I
fair.
mean,
I think a lot of that is feathers popping off, but
yeah, I don't know. Looking at Roar's schedule though, they had a pretty difficult schedule. I will say them losing to OSGS was tough.
yeah.
But then after that, they played NLE, and then they played OTLO, and then they played the win that they picked up against HPB. So maybe this RAR team's sneaky good. They just had a tough first couple of games. Who knows?
Yeah. We'll see. If
Number
they
7.
solidify a roster, who knows?
Yeah, true. I mean, what is a Doki roster
Yeah.
if there's not
It's not solidified.
30,000 different players? Yeah. Number 7, Veracity. So
Falling from 6th, so just one spot.
one spot after the loss. Uh, Stats have Veracity at 8, which is, I mean, kind of on par with their ranking. Tough to put them below any of these other teams right now. But a big game against BLM, like you said,
Yeah, I think
could
that's
could could go a long way.
a very important game for both of them. But yeah, there's no. It'd be tough to move Veracity. I mean, even if somehow like if we would have just played like games 2 and 3 and beat them 2-0, it still would have been tough to even justify
Yeah.
any of these teams being above them because I think they are still a solid team. Um, but the loss is going to bounce them down one spot.
Into the top 6. Number 6. TD
Whew,
West.
whew, whew.
Where were they last week?
They were 5th last week, and so they picked up a win and dropped one. My guess is it's
One.
because one of the teams jumped them, not necessarily because LTD played not great, because they did play pretty well. It was against BLM, who's sitting at 9th. So I don't know.
So
This one's just tough because the top 6 I feel like are pretty close.
at the beginning of the year, TDB lost to Plasma Wolves 2-0, right? So they beat two bad teams. They lost to Plasma Wolves, and then they beat OSG Sub-Zero 2-0. We'll talk about it a little bit more, but stats are pretty high on TDB as a team. I want to touch on them after we cover another team.
Mm-hmm.
But kind of curious. This team kind of flown under the radar, I would say, even though they've dropped a spot. Solid roster for a Sector 1 team. So
Yeah, this is one where it's like that just feels wrong. Um, but like you said, they lost to a good team, and they beat. But the best team that they beat is
the Sub-Zero.
is 9th, or
Yeah.
Black BLM. But
Oh yeah, BLM. Sorry.
whatever. I mean, same
9th.
thing, right? So they don't. I don't think they still have a quality win, but it's not really their fault, right? They didn't make the schedule.
Yeah.
And this week they play TFF.
Yep.
So this will be finally the one where we actually know who's where. So it feels bad, but it's just how the schedule shook out. It's just tough to I don't know, tough to justify.
Yeah. Kind of still an unknown a little bit. Into the top 5 we go. Number 5, talking about potential upcoming matchup that could be given light to how this TD Bless team is. TFF.
Yeah,
Number 5.
I'm
So I
big on
think they
TFF.
dropped. They dropped.
They were 3.
Probably.
They were 3.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
with just your rankings.
Oh yeah, I had them at 3.
Yeah. So
I still have them at 2. So you know what I'm saying.
put the stats in. The stats are not very favorable for TFF, which I think might be the play style, right? They play to scale into mid to late, and then they just try to win those big team fights.
Yeah.
So who knows? Who knows? This matchup could say a lot about both these teams. That's why I thought could go a full 3 games. We'll see. But yeah, number 4.
3, pick number 3, my lord.
Number 4.
It's going. Trouble.
I just tell you right now, it is
Chop.
NLE.
NLE jumping up from 7th last week.
Yeah.
Back to where they belong.
You could say that. Have yet to pick up a clean 2-0, which is concerning. Stats have NLE at number 2.
Whew, okay.
Which is despite not having the cleanest victories. Part of it could be they're picking up some extra stats because of the extra games they're playing. But a lot of the stats are based off of per game or per minute averages. So really, it shouldn't matter too much. If I was going off like bulk stats, like I could say, wow, this team has 100,000 more vision score than the next team. Well, that's just because they're playing a lot more games. So
That's true.
could be underrated potentially.
Potentially, it's one of those where, and we have just under 3 minutes now. I think just a lot of this is nature of the who's actually played who. So
Yeah.
I could see the argument of like, okay, TFF and TD should be 3-4 or 4-5 or whatever. I think it's just because who's actually played who, so that's where NLE could potentially be too high, could be too low. That's just we'll have to see over the next 2 weeks.
So Plasma Wolves on your screen, number 3 after the loss.
Yep, they were one.
We're number 1. Um, so going back to this TD Bless team, right? TD Bless, top 4, number 4 in stats, and Plasma Wolves is at 5.
Hmm.
So the Plasma Wolves did pick up the game against TDB, and so TDB having slightly higher stats, like you're saying, probably is because of the quality of opponent that they've gone against since then. It is interesting to see how close they are on paper, even though Plasma Wolves beat them 2-0. If they were to play again and Riven's a little bit better in form, like they have been recently, would you say the series goes a clean 2-0 to Plasma again? Or would you potentially think it could go full 3 games?
Before last week, I would have thought Plasma Wolves 2-0s every team. But now somebody at least showed us that they can bleed. So they're a lot more human now. So
Yeah.
TD, like we said, hasn't had the hardest test yet. So I think it would be a
Yeah.
banger series. I don't know.
It's just interesting. Stats make this interesting. Number 2. Call it what you want.
I seen some bias before, man. Some
Call it what
cheating
you
ass shit,
want.
man.
So I think it's just we haven't played Plasma Wolves, so we haven't lost them. We did lose the NLE, but NLE keeps going full 3 games. I said NLE has the second best stats. Number 3 is us. So I don't know. Sector 1 stacked.
Yeah.
That means. Go ahead.
We're tied. I mean, I guess all of Sector 1's pretty much tied for first. So
Yeah.
this next week's gonna tell us a lot.
Yeah, 2 through 6, them being all tied for 1 in Sector 1 makes sense. Number 1, OTLO, the remaining undefeated team, the last remaining undefeated team, has been doing it all against all different kinds of opponents. Stats have them at number 1. They've played some quality teams, especially Plasma Wolves. They're the team to beat right now, and rightly so.
Yeah, undefeated. So I mean, naturally they're gonna go from second place to first place, and unless somebody knocks them off, I assume they will stay there. They do have to beat Plasma Wolves later on, but we'll see that when we get there.
There you go. We got 10 seconds left. That's the stream. It was kind of fun to do it on Saturday. You'll have to let us know if you want us to go back to the Mondays. But yeah, I don't know. Any remaining thoughts, CB? Do you feel like we nailed it?
I think I think we did, man. I don't know. You put a lot of pressure on us. For the probably 5 people that can still hear us, put a lot of pressure on us putting it at 2. You could have put us right below Plasma Wolves. That way, we're the underdog.
Yeah, we're the underdog.
But we're the underwolf. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. I like the 2 versus 3 for us. It'll be fun regardless of who wins. But yeah, there's the stream. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let us know if Saturdays are good. I like Saturdays because that just means I get my Monday night.
True. Some normal people like to have their Saturday night over their Monday night, but that's
you
okay.
still have your Saturday night. It's 5:30, brother.
5:30 American time.
5:30 American time. Y'all have a nice night or evening, afternoon, depending on where you are. Go LTA North, represent down in Brazil, and we will catch you on, I guess, Tuesday.
Yeah, true.
That's when you'll see me. So, y'all have a good one.